I'm going to preview the Baylor versus Auburn football game, which will be played on August 29th, a Friday, at 7 p.m. Central Time on Fox. As of right now, Auburn is favored by 2.5. The over/under for the game is 57.5, and I'm going to just go like on the Auburn side of things. The number of the player, height, weight, classification, nothing like stats, because y'all could check that out in the description below, and I will put the roster for Auburn as well. But I try to get like all the key transfers that are contributors. I'm not like offensive line or anything like that, not really. So just to let y'all know about that front. Well, offensively they run like a multiple offense. The offensive line weight, which I did not go in specific in like in terms of like too deep here, but overall with 20 guys, 315.9 pounds. And I'm going to just make this clear. I do think Jackson Arnold will start for Auburn. I'm not buying that smoke screen that Hugh Freeze has said. They're going to play 3 quarterbacks, as in like Deuce Knight, Ashton Daniels from Stanford, and Jackson Arnold. I'm not buying it. You're only giving confidence to the backups or trying to mislead Baylor, or you really don't have a true quarterback one. So I'm not buying that smoke screen. So Jackson Arnold, number 11, 6'1", 211-pound quarterback. That is a junior. He is from Oklahoma. I'm not going to even mention like I mentioned Ashton Daniels could be the guy, but still. And I tried to look at the injury front like on covers.com, what Hugh Freeze said in a press conference in terms of the injury front and everything like that. I tried to. They obviously need like or like they do have like a few guys to keep an eye on a running back, and that's Darrell Robinson from UConn, number 21, 6'1", 200-pound running back. That's a sophomore. There's Damari Alston, which some people have said that he stepped up this year. Number 0, 5'9", 209-pound running back. That's a senior. There's Jeremiah Cobb, number 23, 5'11", 196-pound running back. That's a junior. And they did lose a big piece of running back from last year when you look at it. From last year's stats to this year. So, yeah. Okay, at wide receiver, I'm going to just say this. Auburn's got a good wide receiver play up front. And the first guy I'm going to mention is Eric Singleton, Jr., number 1, 5'11", 190-pound wide receiver. That is a junior. He's from Georgia Tech, and he did have a thigh bruise. And according to Hugh Freeze, he's expected to play unless something happens. Because, you know, he did have a thigh bruise during practice in the fall. Like, probable is like Cam Coleman, number 8, 6'3", 197-pound wide receiver. That's a sophomore. And he's too good to stay in college, but he has to because he's an underclassman. He has to stay until his junior year. And there's Horatio Fields, number 5, 6'3", 205-pound wide receiver. That's a senior. He's from Wake Forest. There's Malcolm Simmons, number 4, 6', 175-pound wide receiver. That's a sophomore. That's pretty much all the guys I had like above 400 yards receiving or more. There's obviously like Preston Howard, number 15, 6'4", 231-pound tight end. That's a junior from Maryland. I might as well just mention one other guy, and it's Perry Thompson, number 3, 6'3", 222-pound wide receiver. That is a sophomore. So yeah. Now defensively, they run a multiple defense. And I know they just suspended a guy off the team recently. Off the team, but I did this like prior to him That's like 14 guys, 290.7 pounds on the average weight on defensive line. Granted, that probably has changed a little bit because of that. Like nose tackle, defensive tackle, 11 guys, 301.5 pounds, 251 pounds at defensive end, but that's like 3 of them. And I did straight from like the Auburn website and then calculate the weight and then divide it by the number of players. And that's kind of what I did on the offensive line as well. I'm just saying. So what are some guys to keep an eye on? And I'm going to say they did lose some guys up front. As in like the front 7. But I know they replenished there. So the first guy is Rayon Strader, number 13. 6 foot, 183 pounds, cornerback as in CB. That's a junior. He's from Miami, Ohio. This is Dallas Walker IV. Number 35, 6 foot 3 inch, 327 pound defensive lineman. That is a senior. He's from Western Kentucky. There's Trey Williams, number 8, 6 foot 1 inch, 201 pound safety. That's a sophomore. There's Tay Seymour, number 29, 5 foot 11 inch, 199 pound safety. That's a junior from Georgia Tech. The obvious best guy, in my opinion, that's coming back, and he could be an NFL. He's probably an NFL pick this year. Is Keldrick Falk, number 15, 6 foot 6 inch, 288 pound defensive lineman as a junior. That is if he wants to come out from the draft, of course. It is James Ash, number 98, 6 foot 4 inch, 280 pound defensive lineman. Is a senior. He's like from Florida A&M. This Caleb Wheatland, number 43, 6 foot 1 inch, 227 pound linebacker. That is a senior from Maryland. There's Chris Murray, number 3, 6 foot 3 inch, 245 pound linebacker. That is a senior from Sam Houston, as in like Sam Houston State. They did bring a guy from Tulane, and Rayshawn Pleasant, number 14, 5'11 inch, 200 pound CB, as in cornerback. That's a junior. That's like Kalen Lee from Auburn is probable with undisclosed. Is like number 4, 5'11 inch, 181 pound CB. That's a junior. The Sylvester Smith, number 19, 6 foot, 192 pound safety. That's a sophomore. Demarcus Riddick, number 6, 6 foot 2 inch, 224 pound linebacker. That is a sophomore. There's Kieran Crawford, number 24, 6 foot 4 inch, 245 pound linebacker. That is a senior. There's Malik Blockton, number 47, 6 foot 3 inch, 301 pound defensive lineman as a sophomore. But really, after like the next 3 guys, I'm not going to mention because they're like less than 10 tackles. No need to waste time on that from last year. Okay, then is Quintrell Jim. The next guy is Jay Crawford, number 23, 5'11 inch, 179 pound CB as a sophomore. I apologize if I went over that again. There's Quintrell Jamison Travis, number 97, 6 foot 4 inch, 305 pound defensive lineman as a senior. And the last guy that had like a leg injury, he did get hurt last year as well, is Champ Anthony, number 1, 5'11 inch, 180 pound CB. That's a junior. I will say there is a battle for kicker. I'm going to go like special teams as well. They did lose their starting punter from last year, but I did list some guys, and who knows who's going to start at kicker. And Alex McPherson, he's questionable for the game. Number 38, 5'9 inch, 156 pound kicker. That's a junior. But I would mention some other guys at kicker, like Towns McGo, number 33, 6 foot, 191 pound kicker. That's a sophomore. And you can check out the stats. And there's Connor Gibbs, number 41, 5 foot 10 inch, 180 pound kicker. That's a junior from Southern Miss. And they actually brought in a punter that was good and he didn't have a ton of punts, but some. Hudson Cake, K-A-A-K. I apologize if I butchered that. Number 14, 6'1", 210-pound pounder as a junior. He's from Oklahoma State. So, obviously, of course, I'm going to start with special teams side of things. You can't have special teams blunders in this type of game, as in like a block kick or a block punt. You got to make your field goals. You got to make your extra points. Have good punts. Kick the ball to the end zone every time. Don't allow them to get any good punt returns. And obviously, vice versa, you got to have some good punt returns if you can. And same thing goes for kickoff returns. And don't do like what Dylan Edwards from Kansas State did. Go back and try to catch a punt inside their 10-yard line. And later on, he fumbled it. You can't muff a punt. And obviously, if they muff a punt, you got to take advantage of it if you can. And you got to have a good snaps because that does matter for the game. Okay, now I'm going to start on the defensive front. One thing I'm going to just mention up front for Baylor, they might not have one particular guy in Carl Williams at safety, and he's dealing with meniscus still, and as in like a couple of weeks ago he was 70%. He might not play. That's a big blow. I mean, that's a blow to the Baylor defense, but they have other guys. It's just more to be more like a rotation, and depending on what situation, what personnel, that's what they're going to have to just adjust to. To me, you got to stop the run because try to make Auburn in more predictable passing situations. And you got to have your pass rush stepped up. And Baylor has addressed that through the transfer portal. I just want to see what they did in the offseason. And same thing goes for like getting a new cornerbacks coach and Paul Gonzalez and a new defensive line coach. Not a new offensive line, but a new a different linebackers coach other than Jamar Chaney. Because Jamar Chaney's back, it's just they have brought in somebody else. So you get the whole picture about that. So they did try to find a way to address that. Baylor did. You can't beat him. You can't get beat so much on one-on-one situations. You don't have blown coverages. You got to have your help step up, as in like the pass rush needs to be there, and you got to make sure you contain the quarterback in the pocket, especially Jackson Arnold, because he can run the ball. If a play breaks down, he could run it. You might use a quarterback spy for the game. We'll see. So, still, you got to make sure you don't give up like chunk plays over 20 yards, like whether it's through the ground or through the air. Now, offensively, your offensive line needs to step up in terms of like not just pass blocking against the Auburn defense, but the run blocking, especially when you're going against Keldrick Falk. I mean, and Baylor does bring back 4 guys on the offensive line. The only other guy that's not returning is the right tackle, but that's a guy that played last year. So, and I just am curious how they're going to take a step forward from last year. I am curious. I would say they need to find a way to run the ball because that would really help Sawyer out, because when you look at that, the corners from Auburn, they're good. And you got to have your wide receivers step up in terms of like run blocking as well. Kind of like same thing goes for tight ends. But obviously in passing situations, they need to try to find a way to get open and make contested catches if need be. And you got to not drop passes. So, and across the board, you got to make adjustments on the fly. Not just from first half to second half, but quarter to quarter. And you got to stay resilient, be the more mentally tougher team. Don't be intimidated by the logo of the SEC and all this. And I'm sure Auburn will be motivated. they want to be better than last year. But I know at the same time, Baylor wants to try to be as good, if not better, from last year as well. And they want to protect. And you gotta have that mindset of, we're not going to be intimidated. We're going to try to find a way to protect home field here, and let the outside noise be outside noise, and whatever you did in practice, that is good. Bring it to the game, and whatever you did wrong in practice, you got to correct for the game, obviously. Same thing goes for those scrimmages. And another thing to note for Baylor football, obviously, they don't have Dawson Pendergrass for the year, but they might not have Michael Turner. But you got to remember, he was not going to be a guy at running back that was going to get a lot of carries anyway. He was going to be like a third string or fourth string back at best, because there's obviously Bryson Washington's back, and you'd bring in Caden Knighton, which, according to some football players in the press conferences, they're saying that he's like mini Cam Scatterboot. So obviously, you across the board, you gotta have your key contributor step up on both offense and defense for this game. And I just decided to just cut it short here, because y'all get the whole point. And all this, and you gotta calm your nerves down. And go out and play, and you gotta have that resiliency, and try to get the home crowd involved in the game as much as possible, because you're at home, and you need to show Auburn, hey, we're not backing down at home here. And this would shut up a lot of SEC. And this is obviously a huge game for both these teams, because look at their beginning of the schedules for both of these teams. I mean, Auburn, after this game, has 2 easier games before they had to go on the road to Oklahoma and Texas A&M. I don't remember the order, and then they host Georgia. Then obviously for Baylor, they do have SMU next week, and they obviously have like a game that they should win the following week. And then there's Arizona State, the Big 12 champs, on the schedule. Then obviously on the road to Oklahoma State, and then at home against Kansas State. So, and this, to me, I think will go a long way for both these programs here. I mean, look, you can't deny that Hugh Freeze is on the hot seat. He's 11-14 at Auburn. And it could be, if Auburn does lose this game, this could be trouble for them to start with. And I do think they have talent. It's just how can they mix it together in game number 1 on the road at that. Obviously, the Baylor secondary needs to step up, not just in run defense, but in pass defense, and the linebackers as well, and safeties, and the defensive line needs to do their job. So anyways, if you like this content, hit the like and subscribe button. See you guys later on the road to 800 subscribers. Close up to me. The goal is 1,000 more. Some money to this course. Like video, comment video really helps YouTube backgrounds. Some more people see us. Sharing the video does help as well. Some more people can watch. And if you're watching and not subscribe, hit subscribe button for the notification bell as well. And of course, offensively, you don't want to get yourself in a 3rd and long so much, and you got to be good on 3rd down offense and defense. And you want to make Auburn to the point of, oh, it's 3rd and long instead of like 3rd and short. Make them in predictable situations, and don't give them so many easy runs whether it's on the sideline or up the middle in this type of game. And you got to be good in the red zone, both offensively and defensively. Whether you're only giving them 3 instead of 6, or you score 3 points or you score a touchdown in this type of game. And there might be questionable calls in the game, but you got to be the more mentally tougher team and make plays to win, and you got to limit your penalties as much as possible. Well, of course, if Auburn does it, it's on them.